dumb does a person have to be to get locked in the library? Well, why does he have to have such a stupid job? Why can't he do something exciting like everyone else? I could do it forever. Show off.
This video is brought to you by viewers like you. Thank you. Make sure to subscribe and help get this video to 4,000 likes.
And I say, hey!
Arthur says it's hard to get mad at Francine, and I would strongly beg to differ. Even from the first day they met, it's clear just how far Francine has her claw sunk into the four-eyed feeble. Arthur says Francine will always have his back, as it gives her easy access to kick his ass. Francine is on the warpath, and accuses Arthur of telling everyone she looks like a marshmallow. Buster runs his big fat mouth and signs Arthur's death warrant for him.
So, what do you want to do about it? You better apologize or what? Or you're gonna get it.
Way to go, Buster. In class, Francine gives Arthur an official declaration of war, as it looks like every girl in class is lining up to beat the crap out of him.
This is all your fault. You're the one who called her a marshmallow.
Yeah, and you're the one who didn't shut up about it, so half the ass-kicking should go to you. Buster tries to make a run for it when Mr. Ratburn gives the kids their next assignment.
What makes a hero or heroine? That is the question I want you to think about over the weekend.
How is that an assignment? That's the vaguest crap I've ever heard. Mr. Ratburn divides the kids into pairs for oral presentations, and guess who Arthur gets paired with?
Arthur with Francine.
Nice knowing you.
Turns out Francine is so petty that she calls Arthur's house to rat him out to his bratty little sister. DW chews him out for being so mean, because it's not like DW has ever been mean to Francine.
Why don't you go back to your own house and stop bothering us?
Try me, bitch.
The next day, Arthur meets Francine at the library, even though she refuses to talk to him. The two split up to do research as Francine storms off with her color-changing backpack. Arthur actually tries to get some work done, while Francine wastes the day reading her knockoff Goosebumps books. Arthur ends up falling asleep and doesn't wake up until after the library is closed, even though someone surely would have seen him asleep on the couch and woken his ass up before they locked up for the night. Arthur tries to leave, only to find the doors are locked from the outside. Arthur panics that the library is going to eat him. He cautiously wanders the aisles and ends up finding a monster in the dark. Francine chews out Arthur for getting them locked in the library, even though he was dead-ass asleep the whole time. What's Francine's excuse?
How dumb does a person have to be to get locked in the library?
I don't know. You tell me. The two try to escape as Francine still insists she's not talking to Arthur, cause she's clearly got her priorities straight. Instead of looking for the emergency exit, the two try to escape out the window by building a giant tower of books.
Hey! Whoa! Thanks. I was almost there.
Their scheme comes crashing down around them as they realize they'll be trapped in the library all weekend. Arthur worries DW will take advantage of his disappearance and take over his room. I wouldn't put it past her. Francine looks up a book on escaping from libraries and nearly crushes Arthur's spine trying to find it.
Somebody must have checked it out. Who would need a book on escaping from a library unless they were already in a library?
Why would that book exist at all? Arthur drops Francine on her ass, but sadly doesn't paralyze her. Just then, the phone rings, and Francine insists on answering it herself. Turns out Muffy called the library to have books delivered directly to her house, like the lazy entitled little brat she is. Francine tries to get Muffy's attention and ends up fumbling the bag.
Francine? I must have dialed the wrong number. What did you do?
Francine then tries to call her parents, only to find she needs a specific code to dial out. Gee, if only there was some kind of portable phone children could carry on them in case of emergencies. Arthur starts to have a panic attack when Francine tells him to stop being a wimp. Arthur responds by telling her to quit being a bossy know-it-all.
Marshmallow.
Aw, shit! Francine storms off as she'd rather die alone than try to escape with Arthur. Good riddance if you ask me. The madness takes control of Arthur's mind as he resorts to eating pictures of food. We've all been there. Arthur goes to check if Francine has gotten herself killed when he hears a scream coming from the employee break room. He runs in blind and falls face first into day-old pizza. Hilarious. Turns out Francine was just watching old movies and vegging out. Arthur chews out the loudmouth lunkhead for scaring the crap out of him. Francine refuses to apologize as she's still bitter about being called a marshmallow. Arthur points out Francine has said way worse stuff to him, like the time she made fun of him for wearing glasses and having all his baby teeth, which I've already covered in depth in another video. Check it out. Francine changes her attitude when she realizes Arthur was worried about her. This gives her ego the boost it needs to let her forgive Arthur, and the two pig out on junk food. Unfortunately, their good time comes to an end when DW shows up to break up the party.
You're in big trouble.
That Monday, Arthur and Francine are bragging about their weekend escapades when they realize they forgot to do the oral report. The two try to come up with a last-minute plan, while Muffy explains why her father is the sole reason Elwood City has avoided financial ruin.
Buster, do you have anything to add?
No.
Hell yeah, Buster. Get that minimum effort passing grade. Arthur is ready to take the F when Francine tries to spin their traumatic experience into a half-assed report.
When we were locked in the library, it might have been really terrible. But then Arthur came to rescue me because he thought I was in danger.
Her speech wins over the class, but Ratburn says they still need to do the actual assignment. Damn. That afternoon, Arthur is telling Buster how nice Francine is when the she-devil splashes them both with mud. Because of course she does. Let's review. Francine threatened to kick Arthur's ass for making fun of her, even though she's consistently done way worse to him. Arthur was forced to do an oral report with her even after she sent him a blatant death threat. She refused to talk to him and tried to control every aspect of the report. When the two got locked in the library, she blamed Arthur for getting them stuck and refused to work with him to break out. She only forgave him when Arthur feigned the minimal amount of concern for her and agreed to stop being a pain. She completely forgot to do the report and tried to ramble her way into a passing grade. And even after she made up with Arthur, she went right back to treating him like absolute crap. F you, Francine.
And I say, hey!
Arthur and Buster try out for Little League Baseball, even though Buster can't throw worth a damn and Arthur can't catch for shit. But that doesn't matter since everyone apparently makes the team. At least everyone in the show with a name. The kids argue over who should be the pitcher, while Francine reminds them that it's up to the coach to decide, which would be rather mature of her if the coach wasn't her damn dad. Gee, I wonder who he's gonna pick.
Hi, Daddy.
Oh god, don't tell me Francine is a daddy's girl. I already got one of those on my channel. The kids take turns pitching, as Francine turns out to be a better bitcher than a pitcher. Francine is appalled when her father dares to criticize her pitching and tries to club him in the knee with the ball. The kids next move to the outfield, where Arthur fumbles every single catch. Mr. Frensky tries to keep things positive, while his diabolical daughter gleefully laughs at Arthur behind his back, even though she clearly has no room to talk. This is why you don't go outside. Ever. After practice, Buster calls out Francine for her bogus ball skills, who deflects to teasing Arthur to protect her own ego. Francine tries to make fun of Arthur, only to find her friends have ditched her ass a long time ago. Arthur is nervous for his first game, while Buster's mom tries to baby-proof the baseball field.
I was just wondering, is that ball very hard? Are those hats made of wool? I think he's allergic to wool.
I'm starting to see why Buster's dad left. Buster gives Francine another gentle ribbing as the future yandere again defaults to shitting on Arthur's inability to hold onto a ball for more than 2 seconds. Buster tries to help his best friend by giving him his secret good luck charm. Where have I seen this thing before? Arthur tries to catch a fly ball and ends up scoring a home run for the other team.
Here, I think it's broken.
Buster, be honest, how many tetanus shots do you burn through in a year? Arthur's team loses the game, but Mr. Frensky still takes the kids out for ice cream.
When the fuck did we get ice cream?
Francine continues to openly mock her team and nearly starts a brawl in the middle of the ice cream parlor, while Arthur is so upset that he walks home by himself. Arthur's parents try to cheer him up when DW decides to open her big fat mouth.
Now if he could only catch the ball.
DW?
No, she's right.
Don't you ever say those words again, Arthur Timothy Reed. Meanwhile, Francine tries to convince her dad to kick Arthur off the team.
I can't even throw straight because I'm busy thinking what dumb thing he's gonna do next.
Well, maybe your aim would be better if you tried fucking all the way off. Mr. Frensky tries to kill 2 birds with 1 stone by making Francine Arthur's personal coach, which would be like hiring London Tipton to be your driving instructor. The next day, Francine goes to visit her future couturier.
Did you remember something mean you forgot to say yesterday?
Damn, get her, Arthur! Francine leaves her ego at the door, for once, and teaches Arthur how not to suck at catching, while Arthur teaches her to not suck at pitching.
Well, if you didn't keep striking out and dropping balls, I wouldn't have had to tease you. At least when I throw it, it lands in the same neighborhood.
These two are gonna have some bonkers hate sex in their 20s. The two make up as Francine finally apologizes for being so mean.
Well, Maybe sometimes you overdo it just a little.
Hey, don't let her off the hook that easy. Francine tells Arthur to call her out if she ever acts like a jerk again. And if he doesn't, then I sure as hell will. The kids have somehow made it to the playoffs without tearing each other to shreds. Mr. Frensky reminds his team he'll be proud of them whether they win or lose.
If you lose, you drive us to the outskirts of town and leave us there? No, Binky. I'll never get to see the outskirts of town.
Damn it, Binky, you hyped it up so much, now I want to see the outskirts of town. The game begins, and Arthur's team is surprisingly able to keep their head above water, even though everyone is playing in their goddamn jeans.
Stay right free.
Hey, the ball didn't hit him.
Arthur and Francine successfully work together to prevent the other team from scoring. The two prematurely congratulate each other, while Buster ends up losing the game. Francine is about to tear Buster a new one when Arthur reminds her to not be an asshole. Francine thanks Arthur for calling her out, so you would think she's learned her lesson, right? Wrong.
Basketball season is coming up, and if you stink at that, I get to tease you all over again.
God fricking damn it. Let's review. Francine spent the entirety of baseball season making fun of Arthur's poor hand-eye coordination to distract from the fact that she can't pitch worth a damn. She blamed everyone for their losing streak, except herself, and brought down the morale of the whole team. Instead of addressing her own faults, she tried to get Arthur kicked off the team. She only agreed to play nice with Arthur when her father promoted her to assistant coach. And even when the two got along without tearing each other's throats out, Francine promised to continue tormenting Arthur for the rest of his life. F you, Francine.
And I say, hey!
Arthur imagines what it'd be like to have the perfect dad, whether he be a drag racer, a transformer, or just an ordinary dad who doesn't boink your teacher on the weekends. Speaking of which, Mr. Ratburn announces the class will be taking a field trip to see where their parents work, including Francine's dad. Catherine questions why Francine isn't mortified at the thought of her friends finding out their father is a garbage man. Catherine bluntly asks her father when he's going to get a real job, even though garbage collectors tend to get paid more than most white-collar jobs, including teaching. The next day, the kids go to visit Mr. Crosswire, who apparently modeled his entire career and wardrobe off Matilda's dad.
Listen, you little wiseacre. I'm smart, you're dumb. I'm big, you're little. I'm right, you're wrong. And there's nothing you can do about it.
He offers to let the kids test drive the cars when Mr. Ratburn cuts the tour short.
I think we'll pass. Back to the bus, everyone. We're running late.
Thanks a lot, you soggy sack of party poop. The kids are en route to their next stop when Francine's dad drives by in his smelly-ass truck. Francine distracts everyone by spitting her gum on the ceiling. Gross. The kids next visit the Brains ice cream shop, where Buster creates a new ice cream flavor by combining pizza and bananas. Whoa, 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 what the hell's all that other junk? Was that all just sitting at the bottom of the dispenser? When's the last time they cleaned this damn machine? The class is going to visit Mr. Frensky tomorrow, and Francine worries her father will embarrass her in front of her friends. Francine is so self-conscious that she tries to get her mom to make her dad cancel the field trip. She goes on to parrot her older sister as Francine claims her dad should be ashamed of his job.
Well, why does he have to have such a stupid job? Why can't he do something exciting like everyone else?
Well, why don't you get a job to pay for rent and food, and then I'll ask for your damn opinion. Francine doesn't have the heart or the balls to tell her dad what she really thinks of his job. The next day, the class gets to the dump, and Francine tries to save her ass by claiming her dad is working undercover. She tells her friends not to blow his cover, unless they want the FBI to wipe boogers on their neck. That's what that gesture means, right? Muffy sets one foot inside the dump, and threatens to sue if she gets any dirt on her. Mr. Frensky ends up winning over his daughter's class after he shows them all the deadly machines he gets to work with. And don't get me wrong, all of this is badass. But how exactly did the school get approval to take these kids to an open dump site? Dangerous equipment aside, these kids are definitely going to need a tetanus shot after this field trip. Mr. Frensky next takes the kids to a hand-built playground he made from recycled materials. Francine comes to appreciate her father's job as she proudly proclaims her father is a garbage man. And the episode ends before we get to see Mr. Ratburn take a private field trip to Mr. Reed's bakery to have his buns glazed. Let's review. Francine became embarrassed of her father's job, even though garbage collection is a damn respectable profession. She did everything in her power to keep his job a secret from her friends and tried to get him to cancel his on-site field trip. She lied to her friends and threatened them with death if they told anyone about her father's job. And it was only when Francine took the time to see what her father does that she came around to appreciate his job. But that's still not as bad as the time Francine threw out her dad's favorite bike. The episode opens with Francine pushing all her friends friends to the ground so she can get to her bike. Looks like nobody taught this apathetic asshat how to say excuse me. Arthur explains how Francine mastered the two-wheeler while the rest of her friends were still pissing in their Pampers. Thankfully, Karma's caught up with the shit-brained show-off, and now Francine can barely pedal her teeny-tiny bike without having the saddle ride all the way up her ass.
Ouch! Ouch! Ouch!
Francine's parents explain how they just don't have enough money to get her a new bike. Francine says she'll positively die if she doesn't have a bike. Is that a promise? Mr. Frensky generously offers to give his daughter his old bike, but not before taking it out for one last hurrah. Francine reluctantly accepts the paltry yet practical present in the most backhanded way possible.
At least it's big enough.
I mean, you could always have no bike and just walk your ungrateful ass to school. The next day, Francine pulls up to school in her brand new hand-me-down and immediately starts capping.
I could have had any bike I wanted, but I chose this one.
Muffy jumps at the chance to shit on Francine's crappy bike, while simultaneously bragging on herself.
Too bad you couldn't get one like mine.
Why do you even have a bike? Did your limo run out of gas? In class, the kids are learning about the history of the wheel, and Buster takes the opportunity to humiliate Francine in front of the whole class.
Can anyone tell us what these early Sumerians might have done with their new wheel?
Build Francine's bicycle?
See, Francine, doesn't feel so good when it happens to you, does it? Muffy tries to defend her best friend, but ends up reading her for absolute filth.
It's not her fault she has to ride an ugly old bicycle and wear unfashionable hand-me-downs. Just think how you would feel.
Damn, the library is open. Instead of telling everyone to back off, like she normally does, Francine decides to ditch her bike in the middle of the woods as if it was Todd from Fox and the Hound. That night, Francine tries to shame her father into buying her a new bike.
Why couldn't you just get me a new bike?
We don't have enough money right now.
Hey, Mr. Frensky, not to belittle your point, but remember what you said a few episodes ago?
What would I do with money?
This is what you would do with money. No, I'm not talking about getting a new bike. I'm saying you should use the money to ship Francine's greedy ass to Siberia. The next day, Francine is horrified to find the trash collectors have confiscated her bike, even though it's her own damn fault for leaving it out all night. Francine then lies to her friends that the bike was stolen.
Can I draw or what?
What? Her friends convince her to go to the principal, where she digs herself in deeper by claiming an evil garbage truck tried to kill her while stealing her bike. Principal Haney stupidly believes her story, while her friends assume Francine is covering for the real thief.
And now the question is, which one of us knows how to drive a bike-eating truck?
Francine then tells her parents that the bike was stolen by thieves in helicopters, because she clearly wants to be caught in a lie. The Frensky parents believe their deceitful daughter, while Catherine can smell Francine's bullshit from a mile away. Francine nearly comes clean to her father when she chickens out at the last second. Meanwhile, Muffy assumes Binky stole Francine's bike, and rallies the rest of the students into an angry mob to run him out of town. The kids are about to dogpile Binky when Francine finally tells the truth.
Now everyone hates me, thanks to you!
Don't worry, Muffy. Everyone already hated you. Mr. Frensky finds the bike in the garbage and comes to the realization that his daughter is also garbage. Francine admits she threw out the bike so her friends would stop teasing her.
And I thought if it got stolen, maybe you'd buy me a new one.
There it is. Francine tries to make it up to her father by customizing the bike with junkyard scrap, because trash deserves trash. The two finish pimping Francine's ride, and Mr. Frensky takes it for a spin. The episode cuts to black before we see Mr. Frensky decide to steal the bike for himself. Let's review. Francine tried to guilt her parents into buying her a new bike, even though it was clear they couldn't afford to. She turned her nose up at her father after he offered her a perfectly usable bike and was embarrassed to be seen with it in public. Her ego was so fragile that she ditched her bike and then lied about it to try to save her own ass. She only told the truth after her friends threatened to beat the shit out of Binky. And even though she finally apologized to her dad, it's clear Francine has no respect for her father or his line of work. God help her when she grows up and has to get her own blue-collar job just to pay the rent. F you, Francine.
And I say, hey!
The episode opens with Francine asking her friends about their personal tastes. Muffy says there's nothing more important than clothes, while DW enjoys singing along to ear-bleeding nonsense.
Happy Ivy, whoopee, whoopee, doopy, doopy, screwy, bluey.
If you're gonna sing that crap, could you at least sing in tune? The Reeds are having a yard sale, when DW tries to sell her brother's toys behind his back.
Where'd you get that? Storage. Hey, these are mine!
Arthur, why do you have a toy model of your family car? Francine pulls up and convinces the Reeds to give her their ottoman for free, which comes with a built-in foot warmer and TV dinner tray. Gee, I wonder why they were giving it away. Catherine chews out her little sister for cluttering up their room with another piece of random crapola. Francine points out Catherine is just as bad, as she's covered their room with more lace than a Victoria's Secret warehouse. Mrs. Frensky tries to make peace with her daughters by offering to paint their room, which makes no sense since they technically rent this place. Francine wants to paint it purple, while Catherine insists on mauve, even though they're the same damn color. Francine goes to her friends to get inspiration for her new room, and settles on a gothic basketball court design. Because Francine's clearly not like other girls, Catherine insists on turning their room into a scene out of Wuthering Heights, which is rather ironic considering what happens to the Catherine in that story. Mr. Frensky suggests they combine their ideas, and Catherine says she would rather sleep in the living room than compromise with the bowl-cut bully. Guess where this leads? Catherine moves her bed into the living room and almost immediately starts redecorating the whole apartment.
She's like bacteria from a space meteorite. She spreads everywhere.
Spreads what? Francine tries to reorganize her room to her liking, but finds it's just too empty. DW says Francine is lucky, and bitches how she still has to share a room with her baby sister. DW fantasizes about turning her dad's workspace into her own private bedroom, where she can hang out with her imaginary friends and cast her brother into the fiery pits of hell. Arthur suggests Francine should get more stuff to decorate her room with. Instead of going to a store, like a normal person, Francine goes to the dump to find her decorations. Cause I guess she wants to get tetanus. Francine fails to find any trash that complements her level of trash, until she stumbles upon the perfect accessory.
It's a Batmobile.
Francine, that's not a Batmobile. This is a Batmobile. That night, Francine has a nightmare where her mobile turns into a vampire bat and tries to eat her. Who'd have guessed the toughest girl in 3rd grade is a big fat chicken? I'll have to remember that for when I cover this episode.
Watch out! A bat! Ah! Get it away!
The next day, Francine makes peace with Catherine by offering her the tea set she found at the dump. Gross. Francine confesses she misses having a roommate, while Catherine admits she misses having a room with at least a hint of privacy.
The walls are so thin.
God only knows what she's overheard the past few nights. The two agree to move back in together and combine their tastes to create Wuthering Frights. Sometime later, Francine shows off her room to her friends and gives them cholera with her contaminated tea set. Let's review. Francine insisted on filling her room with useless junk just to annoy her older sister. The sappy siblings got at each other's throats until Catherine insisted on moving into the living room. When Francine finally got her own room, she was instantly overwhelmed by the empty space and tried to fill it with literal trash. The two only made up once they realized living on your own sucks ass. And even when they finally agreed to decorate their room together, they somehow created the most god-awful design known to man. Also, F you DW for trying to sell your brother's toys and then fantasizing about killing him. But that's still not as bad as the time Francine and Catherine nearly killed each other over horse riding lessons. The kids are in art class when the teacher tells them to make a drawing of their secret dream. Buster draws a prototype for ChatGPT, while Muffy illustrates her self-cessed fantasy. Francine dreams of being an Olympic rider. Go figure the monkey would turn out to be a horse girl. Francine reveals she's stolen enough lunch money to afford riding lessons.
I saved $30 whole. You said if I could save the money, you'd take me.
Nowadays, that wouldn't even cover the Uber ride to the lessons. Francine is pissed when her parents try to back out of their deal. Turns out the lessons are during the day when both her parents are at work, because I guess Mrs. Frensky has some secret off-screen job we've never seen. Just then, the solution comes walking through the door. Catherine gets roped into escorting Francine to her riding lessons, while making sure to bitch and moan all the way there.
I can't believe I have to do this. Mom and Dad are paying for the lessons, and it wasn't cheap.
Wait, I thought you were paying for them. I knew there's no way those lessons only cost $30, even in 1996. God damn it, I'm old. Catherine is ready to ditch her sister when her eyes go full of wooga for the instructor. Catherine insists on staying around so she can get her own private riding lesson. Francine is dismayed that horses seem to hate her, just like every other animal on this show. She fails to take control of her steed and falls on her ass trying to mount him.
This'll be a lot easier in a few years when you're taller.
You could at least give the poor girl a step stool. Catherine turns out to be a natural rider, while Francine is too scared to trot more than 2 miles an hour. Even in her own dreams, her older sister is a better rider.
All you folks out there who thought Francine was too bossy, yes, Muffy, that means you.
Damn, Francine's dreams go hard. The next day, Francine starts to get the hang of things, as even her horse starts taking her lead.
Okay, Bronco, back to the barn. And no more leaves.
Why you gotta deny my man his leaves? Just then, Francine overhears Stanley offering Catherine a job in exchange for free lessons. But what about Francine? Stanley admits she still has a lot to learn if she wants to be a competent rider. How does Francine react to this fair and balanced criticism? By running away and giving up horse riding for good, even though her parents already paid for another full week of lessons. Catherine tries to convince her to see it through. Francine tells her to fuck off. The next day, Francine is hanging out at Arthur's house when DW insists on playing a game.
Mom says if you're not doing anything, then we can play covered wagon. You can be the horse who dies of thirst.
Are there no child asylums in Elwood City? Because if there are, they might be missing a patient. Francine stupidly agrees to play horsey with the dim-witted demon child, until she nags her to death.
It's not called horsey.
Wait, play that back. Holy shit, the meme is real! I feel like I'm about to get a phone call saying I only have 7 days to live. Catherine finally convinces Francine to rejoin her lessons, even though she still refuses to get on a horse. She spends the afternoon giving her older sister the stink eye and taunting her horse with food. Catherine comes up with a compromise, where she'll help Francine improve her riding in exchange for help around the barn. Francine agrees to the deal, even though she'll be getting the same lessons as before, but now with an unpaid internship on top of it. The sisters finally make up and decide to pool their resources to buy a horse of their own. Their truce quickly falls apart when they get into a shouting match over what to name the horse.
I'm not calling my horse Stanley. It's our horse.
Mr. Frensky overhears the commotion and decides to ignore it for the safety of his own life. And we never see Stanley again after this episode, because he probably skipped town after going on 2 dates with Catherine and realizing just how intense she is. Trust me, as someone who dated a horse girl for 3 years, you don't want to get mixed up with that shit. Let's review. Francine begged her parents for riding lessons, even though she'd never been near a horse in her whole life. She failed to do the most basic steps and almost got trampled by her horse. Almost. Meanwhile, Catherine was forced to take her snotty sister to the lessons, but changed her attitude once she got the hots for the instructor. She showed up her sister at every chance, giving Francine's ego a much-needed reality check. Francine quit her lessons out of spite and only agreed to come back when Catherine made a rare gesture of good faith. And even when the two sisters finally made up, they went right back to fighting the first chance they got. Also, FUDW for annoying your brother and making the face that launched a million memes. And of course, for driving each other crazy with their pointless arguments and competitions, FU Francine and Catherine.
And I say,
Hey, I have a Patreon. Sign up at patreon.com/MattNeff to get your name in the thank you credits, along with early access to every FUDW and the chance to vote for future episodes. If there's a movie or show you'd like me to talk about, top-tier patrons can commission a review for my channel. Check out the link in the description to become an FUDW superfan.
and I say, hey, what a wonderful kind of day. If you can learn to work and play.